April is many things, and one of the things that April has been for a long time is National Poetry Month. And we've gathered here today to honor that month of April, to honor poetry. So here we're going to read you some of our work and hope you enjoy it.
My name is Tim Applegate, and I'd like to read two poems today from a recent collection of mine. And I'm going to start with a poem called The Framing Crew. When I was 19, I worked for a summer on a framing crew building houses in Indiana. And years later wrote a poem about it, which I dedicated to the extraordinary Oregon poet Clement Stark. The Framing Crew. For half an hour, nobody says a word. Instead, we ride that necessary silence, still bleary from last night's bourbon, through the same patchy farmland we've been riding through all of our lives. Bayonets of spring corn spearing the loose soil, endless rows of soybeans on the margins of the one-silo towns, a chorus line of poplars flinging the capes of their shadows across the curve of a country road. Finally, outside Martinsville, the new subdivision looms into view, the bare beams and rafters, the bones of some mastodon suspended in thin air. And by mid-morning, the truck is unloaded, and the rural calm shattered by the steady whine of our saws. In 100 years, no one will remember a moment of this. Not Sam Bam, the drywall man, dead within a year of cancer. Not old George Dobson, still painting baseboards on his 73-year-old knees. Not Jimmy, our foreman, who is having an affair with the unhappy wife of the rich builder we all work for. Not Charles, cement finisher and frustrated artist, who now scrawls his initials into concrete slabs. In 100 years, no one will remember a word or a gesture or a moment of this, though perhaps with good fortune, in this room we're now framing, a young couple will make love, slowly and with care, afterward opening the windows to lie in the cool of evening, to share a silence broken only by the distant whisper of a river, by a sigh of wind in the trees. I'm glad that Steve mentioned Ted Kooser. As you, I'm sure, know, Ted Kooser was recently suffered cancer, and he's okay now. He's in remission, but he wrote some poems about it in a book called 100 Morning Walks. It's a beautiful book. And with that in mind, I'd like to read a poem called Benediction. A few years ago, I suffered through a severe illness, and I don't have a lot of clear memories of my recovery period because I was on so much medication, but I do remember the first day I was able to get up out of bed and off the couch and take a walk. I live out in the country, and I was able to take a walk around up in the hills, a brief one, but still a walk. And a few days later, I wrote a poem about that, which is called Benediction. In the quiet hours of a country dawn, he would rise from the dream of dying, to pull on cold pants and lace up hiking boots and set off down the deer path through his patch of woods into fields still glistening with dew, feeling the sun on his shoulders and the wind's faint breath as he crossed the creek above Isaac's pasture where the dapple gray bent, as in a painting, to its parcel of tall grass, past the row of broken fence posts still leaning against the sun, until he came to Nelson's pump, where he would grip the rusty handle and wait for a trickle of water to fill the metal cup, and then wiping his mouth with the back of a sleeve, gaze up at the far hills veined with elk trails where the dead slept, where the dark paths still shuddered to the memory of moccasin and wheel, lifting his arms in benediction to every mystery that would remain forever unknown, to the natural order, which is disorder, his heart still now as the light in the trees deepened and the hills fell seaward, and a solitary hawk, riding the current, circled high overhead. Thank you.